Hi, this is Ademuyiwa from Stresstherapist.net. Welcome to video 5 of my course on how to deal with depression. In video 3 of this course, I touched on the importance of keeping our bodies, especially our minds, replenished as a barrier against depression. Just think about it for a second. When you get depressed, one of the first things you lose is your appetite. What many don't realize is that the poor intake of food adds to the number of things that holds them back from recovery in depression. In this video, I am introducing Patrick Holford to you. Patrick is a well-known nutritional psychologist who has been featured on many TV stations on issues around using diet to manage tiredness, allergies, arthritis, and diabetes. He was kind enough to share some time with us. And in this video, he highlights how to start ensuring that your nutritional intake supports you against becoming depressed.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick Holford, and I started out actually as a psychologist. And I believed, and I do believe, that so much of our how we feel is to do with the state of our mind. I mean, literally, how we process the stuff that has happened in our lives. So I like you, intended to be a psychotherapist. And what happened for me, this is back in the 1970s, so I'm in my mid-50s, is that I came across this amazing research on nutrition and the brain. And it really made it very clear to me that how we think and how we feel has an awful lot to do also with the chemistry of our mind, of our brains. And I'll give you a very simple example of this. Every single substance in your body and brain is made directly from what you eat. And if you're interested in your mood and your depression, you will have heard of serotonin. And serotonin is what's called a neurotransmitter. And it sends messages from one brain cell to the next. And all of the drugs that are used as antidepressants really are designed to affect serotonin, or to increase serotonin. But serotonin itself is made from protein. Protein is made from amino acids. And there's one amino acid called tryptophan, happens to be very rich in turkey, and bananas, and various other foods. So in one study at Oxford University, they took 15 people who were not depressed and gave them a diet which they didn't know had every nutrient necessary except tryptophan. And within 8 hours, 10 out of 15 were feeling depressed. In other words, everything in your brain is made directly from what you eat. And what you eat has a direct effect upon how you feel and how you think. You know, literally, sometimes in a matter of minutes or hours. And what I started to do a long time ago was to look at all of the factors that affect a person's mood and all of the available research of what actually works. And more than a decade ago, we set up a clinic called the Brain Bio Centre. It's just outside London. And it's part of the charity that I run, which is called Food for the Brain. You can find out a lot on foodforthebrain.org. And if you come to our clinic, the Brain Bio Centre, and you are depressed, we're going to take a urine sample, and we're going to take a blood sample, and we're going to find out whether you've got any imbalances that could lead to depression. Now, I don't want you to think that I think that the only cause of depression is nutritional deficiencies of brain chemistry. Of course, you know, if you have a bereavement, or you're very stressed, you're doing a job that you really don't like, or your relationship is not really working, I mean, all of these are going to bring on food. But so too will, for example, a lack of omega-3 fats. Omega-3 fats, which are found in oily fish and nuts and seeds, are absolutely essential for how serotonin works. And you can actually predict a country's rate of depression simply by knowing its intake of seafood. So if you don't eat nuts or seeds, and by the way, I'm talking here ideally about raw nuts and seeds, not cooked, fried, crispy things, and you don't eat fish, where are you getting your omega-3s? And to put this in context, there have been 10 what we call randomized controlled trials, placebo versus, in this case, omega-3 supplements. And most of them show that omega-3 is very, very effective. Now, another nutrient is vitamin D. And when I look at my host for today, I notice that his skin is a lot darker than mine. Now, that's great news if you live in Africa, because it stops you being fried by the sun. But it's actually very bad news if you live in England, where the weather, actually today is quite nice, but usually it's awful. And between October and March, we just do not get enough intensive sunlight. And sunlight makes vitamin D in the skin, and vitamin D improves your mood. So there are a lot of studies now that show that low vitamin D equals low mood, and if you increase intake of vitamin D, you get a better mood. And by the way, the foods that are rich in vitamin D are, again, seafood, oily fish. But in truth, in the winter months, if you live in the northern hemisphere, you cannot get enough vitamin D from food. You really have to supplement it. Omega-3s, vitamin D, tryptophan. These are 3 nutrients that actually work. Another fundamental, which is really big now, is to do with blood sugar. It used to be so that the typical candidate for depression would be an older woman who would be a very light sleeper, eating like a sparrow, hence losing weight or skinny, and with a very flat, low, pessimistic mood. But in recent years, there's a syndrome which is technically called atypical depression, though it's becoming more typical, which describes usually a younger woman who could sleep forever, feels sleepy and groggy during the day, craves carbohydrate, gaining weight, loves sugar, and doesn't have a flat, low, pessimistic mood, actually has mood dips, and is very sensitive. So in other words, if someone criticizes them, they can really go into a pit of depression. This is called atypical depression. And Adewale, you'll like this story, because a guy I met who's a professor of psychoanalysis at University in North Carolina.
Okay.
He had been working with this patient for many years, many years of psychoanalysis. And in honesty, he would say he was still depressed, but had more insight. And one day the patient turns up and says, "Doc, I'm better.
Oh.
I've been taking these pills from the health food shop, and I'm better." And the professor, of course, was skeptical, and he looked at the pills, and they contained 5 active ingredients. So what he did was he gave his patient separately each of these ingredients in an envelope unmarked.
Oh.
And when he didn't have the pills, he got depressed, and they found out that it was chromium, which is an essential mineral, that was stopping him being depressed. When he had the chromium, he wasn't depressed. When he didn't have the chromium, he was depressed. So, being a man of science, he set up a double-blind placebo-controlled trial and took a group of atypical depression patients, put half of them on chromium supplements, this is an essential mineral, and half on placebo. And at the end of the 12 weeks, 60% who were depressed on chromium were no longer depressed. And on the placebo group, it made no difference. So we don't exactly know how chromium works, but we know that it makes insulin work, and we know that when you have blood sugar problems,
Okay.
you stop being able to use insulin properly. So there's a big link between diabetes, for example, and depression. So the interesting point here is that you could work with somebody with very good techniques like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, etc., but not realize that this person may actually have a blood sugar problem or a lack of omega-3 or a lack of vitamin D. And what we find, because we actually work a lot with psychotherapists, is that all psychotherapeutic approaches work better when someone's brain is optimally nourished.
Mm.